I guess I'll get started. I'm going to start with some introduction stuff, and then we'll get on to the coding part. This is titled Intro to Python, and my name is Jed Schweiert. I am a math and computer science teacher here at CounterWiser. I've been teaching, I taught computer science like my first year, and we taught it in True Basic, the language was called. And I taught math for a long time, 20 years or so, and then recently I got asked to do computer science again. So basically, I relearned these newer languages, Python and Java. So I'm telling you this just a little so you know my background. I'm not like a software engineer or a web designer or a tech guy. I'm just a math teacher that kind of learned how to do this. But now I teach all the coding at the high school. I chose to do an intro course for this day because there's a lot of people that seem like they want to just know what coding's all about, and we're sticking to very, very basic stuff. So if you have no experience, you're totally fine. You're in the right spot. If you have some experience, it might go a little slow for you, but at least you're going to hear some stuff repetition. If you're Dimitri and you're in level 3 or so, this is going to be like all like first year stuff. So in any case, we're going to get through like basic concepts, and the concepts can be applicable in any computer language, not just Python. And to actually intro and show you guys some stuff, I thought I would show some 4 probably previous things that happened from students. And I just picked 4 just to give you a taste of what Python can do. This is the Computer Science 1 student's final exam. His final exam's Hangman. And Christina Patterson, she went above and beyond, but you can just see that, like, this is the code. This is what she actually had to type and do.
In order for the computer.
In order for
Hangman.
yes, that's you can see the title is a Hangman. So what it's gonna do is the assignment was to just draw a stick figure and play the game, but she went a lot above what she had to do, obviously.
Oh.
So this is the screen where it outputs. This is what she wrote. This is the output screen. So she did the drawing, and then she's doing, we'll do easy, I guess. I don't know if we'll finish here or not. Go ahead, Cam, guess a letter.
R.
E.
Good
Good guess.
Thank you.
Good guess. Gina, you got one?
O.
Oh. We're on a roll. Anyone else?
E-I-O-U.
Throw a letter out.
A, you gotta do that. No one.
SpongeBob.
Sound like this.
It's at the bottom.
Keep going. Keep going. I.
I. F. Oh wait, are those the letters we have?
Yeah, if you can see that it's not a full screen, but she's got the guesses that were already guessed. How many guesses you have left before you lose? The word, and it's like as we're building it.
Oh, that's those blanks.
So
N.
give me another letter. Fire away. N.
K.
K.
Oh, I thought it was.
Come on, Gina.
S.
S.
What?
Oh my God.
Put it on
R.
Send it on.
R.
Oh,
That one.
wait. Scroll over to
Did you ever watch?
Oh.
I don't know SpongeBob anything, so
Yeah, I
don't know
watch
what
it,
this
I
is.
don't know.
You think it's related to that?
I'm sure it
It's
is.
SpongeBob's words.
Give me something else. I'm just gonna lose that if you don't tell me.
S.
S.
I already guessed.
I already
Oh.
guessed that.
N.
Oh, she got that taken care of.
N. That's always one they guess.
N. I already guessed Z.
L.
Z- no.
B. B is a boy. Oh, there. I'm trying to think of what that word
Someone
is.
that knows
Who watches
SpongeBob, help us
SpongeBob?
G.
Or watched it when you were little?
We're about to lose here. It's okay.
Oh,
Overtime.
overtime.
Oh.
Overtime. But you can see, like, what I wanted to show you this is because it
Got it.
interacts with you, it plays the game. But this took a lot of time and effort to draw it. She didn't like copy that off the internet or anything. Like, she took a lot of effort and math to get that going. So that's one example. Another one is probably one of my favorite ones. This was Mark Yazambowski. And this is 3 years in, and he did this on his own. This was not part of class, but he got tired of doing word searches in driver ed, so he wrote some
This
code
is great.
to do it for you. So that's all his code, and he, I gotta enter this in, so it's gonna, he made it so I can cut and paste it. So there's the puzzle, and then there's the words we're looking for. And we designed that so it'll like show, okay, there's acceleration, there's whatever that word is.
Alternator.
Alternator. There's one off the screen. But you get the idea, like, took a lot of effort. Believe me, we're going nowhere near that today, but this is like what, this is what is possible.
What had he finished so far to do that? Comp Sci 1?
No, he was in Comp Sci 2, but Mark does a lot on his own.
Right,
So he had to like look at stuff on the internet and kind of
keep himself.
teach himself, that kind of thing. And I'll probably show you one more. Here's Oliver. There's another Oliver. This kind of looks, I think I just ruined it. This might look simple, but it took a lot of work. He made a calculator where you can kind of click and receive information and do some stuff like that. So all those are examples of things that use Python. They use Python in conjunction with other things. But that's like where someone that's dedicated and wants to put some time in could go. So we are going to start, as I said, rather basic. So I'm going to go over there. I'm not even going to read all those, but there's a few terms of what you need to know. When it's talking about a program, that's what the person typed in. That's what like Mark or Christina, whoever that is, typed. All this stuff, that is the program. The language is like how it all comes together, the words, the punctuation, and you might have heard of different languages. You might have heard of Python, C++, Java, True Basic. They're all the same conceptually, but they're all their own thing.
Oh, green.
Yeah, come on, grab whatever.
You're going to the green.
Okay. And Python is just one example of a language, and that's what we start teaching in Conrad Weiser. When I decided what to do, it seemed like a good starter language, but also one that's used in the real world for like professionals to do stuff on. So in any case, let's actually get started with some stuff. You, on your computer, should be in a program called Idle Python 2.7. I tried to set it up on some of the computers over here, but
Where do you find it?
you probably can, on the student computers it could be anywhere. You're probably gonna have to search for it in the programs.
Go to the search bar, type it in. Go here, type it in. What's it called? Idle. Idle.
If you type in Python in the search bar,
That's it, 3.7.
it has 3.6, 3.5, but the one we're gonna use is 2.7. So Dimitri, can you help any of these guys get into 2.7 or?
3.7. It's school computer. No, there's 2.7 is in there, right? To make
It says idle, what's that? Python, idle Python.
help that.
And I'm gonna walk around and help as well to get everything kind of set up here. But what you want to set yourself up for is for a split screen.
You tried typing idle in there, right?
I don't know how to do that.
This is a part that might take a bit to get everyone on the same page here. I really tried to pre-do some of this ahead of time and it wasn't successful a lot. Yours is gonna be a blank left side and a right side that kind of looks like,
So you need to open 2 screens, you said, right?
the one that comes up a lot is, when most people open it, you're probably gonna get this screen and then what you probably want to go to File, New File, and start. And yours will probably look fresh like that.
Okay. Now I think I can. All right.
So we need two names.
It was just labeled.
Oh, you got it.
idle.
Mine just happened as this.
And then if you have the blank file, you might as well
Perfect.
save, you're gonna have to save it to even do anything with it, so you're gonna probably wanna save, maybe save it on the desktop, call it just a random name, and, like I said, I'll try to wait till everybody's there.
Blank one and the one you got, right? Yeah, blank one is, yep.
I just call it random name.
What are you supposed to call it? Save as what?
Whatever, I don't care what they call it, just
Save
probably
as-
save it on your desktop, call it
Save-
something generic, and it'll probably delete
Save
them
it on
off
your
later
desktop.
anyway. So right now, hopefully you're looking something like that.
And save on your desktop as whatever.
Yeah, but before you can run any kind of program, you have to save it, it's just kind of automatic.
Smart.
You good, Jeanette? All right, I'm heading back to my PowerPoint. In any really beginning language, there's more main topics, and those are the 6. And those are the 6 I'm going to try to get to today. Now, I only have maybe 40 minutes left, so it might not happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But kind of that was my goal when I designed what we were doing. The first thing to talk about is output. Output is what the program gives you, what it produces. In general, in the real world, that can be text, audio, video, like anything the computer does. But for us, it's just going to be text displayed on the screen. So the output screen is going to be on the right side of what you have probably. The easiest way to get output is to do the command called print. So when you, sorry, I'm going to close some of this stuff down. When you want it to do some output, you just go print, spell it correctly. It's very fussy with spelling, punctuation, anything like that. And then, if you want it to print exact words or information, you need to give it quotes. So, you can print whatever you want, but it's kind of programming tradition that your first program ever is called Hello World. So I'm going to do Hello World.
Do they have to
You
skip
print
a
what you
space
want.
like you did?
Now, the spacing, good question, the spacing doesn't matter. It can be on the second space down, third space down. It just recognizes that's the first line.
I don't know why.
So when you decide you want to run it, you go to Run, which is up top, and Run Module, and it is always going to ask you to save it. You'll probably get sick of it and start saving it ahead of time, but ask save, okay. I didn't save mine, I don't know. And if you did it correctly, you ran your first very, very simple program. You got Hello World. You told it what to do on the left, came out over here. Now, if you got that, maybe mess around with something else. I'm going to try to pause and wait for like the majority of people to be at the same spot. So if you're ahead, cool, do something else. If you're behind, try to get kind of where we're at. Dimitri, you think we have everybody there?
Mr. Schreier, do you guess what my message was?
I don't know what your message was.
You don't want to know? This is what
Are you all logged in on your own? No.
Yeah.
Are you still logged in on mine?
Oh my god, this is where I figured out that I am like so old. Yeah, hello world. Oh wait, did you already do it on a blank screen and it
We
came
did
up
Hello
on here?
World. You can only do so much with print statements alone. So I'm going to move on to talk to this and kind of, hopefully you're all kind of going to be with me.
Wait, they should have done it on the blank screen, right? Go into it again. Go
They
into that.
should have, sorry, I saw through.
And then, we got it.
This is your code you're doing
Go
on
into
the
it
blank
again.
screen, and this is where the output
Yeah,
is.
try to go too many rows. Because when this comes up, it should have the word. Okay, now do file, save that, or not file, open, or new file. Okay. Put put that to the side. Move that over.
How do you?
Now, in that, move that to the right, move that whole thing over to the right. There you go. All right, click in there,
Are you in
in the blank one.
3.6?
In that one, hello world.
I was focused on my message to you.
Hold on, we're trying it.
All
Go
right.
over and do it and try to
So you
get it.
guys kind of got Hello World. You got on the wrong
No, we're
thing.
still getting it
You guys
over
there? You guys there?
You don't have quotes.
Are you guys
You gotta
there?
have quotes around, no,
Well, mine worked in the right box. Yours didn't work in the left box.
because you're supposed to write in the blank. All right, now hit enter. Now, how do they get it over in the right box? Like they did it in the
Once
blank.
they type the code in, they want to run the code.
Oh, run it in that one over here.
Run it, and there's a run. Where's the one you typed the code in?
Here,
There's
run.
a run at the top of there.
The run module.
It's going to ask you to save it. You just say yes.
Run module, save it, okay. Run module. She goes, oh, he didn't save it. We didn't save it. We need to name that. Okay. There, you did it. That's right, Mr. Schreiber said, before you ever do anything, you gotta call your program something, but. Let's get rid, what's it say?
Hit no.
Does he have to save it before he tries to run it? Probably. Let's do this first. Let's do file save as first. Save as. Now name it something on the desktop.
Hey, here we go.
All right, I am going to
Save. Now do
continue
run.
on here a bit, I think.
Run module.
For the
There you go.
next main topic is
All right, go.
variables. And variables you've all had experience with in math in some way. And think about variables in math. They are usually single letters, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and they usually stand for numbers. Take that concept and kind of blow it up a little bit. Variables in Python and any language really they can be not just letters. They can be words, side, or player name, or goals, place, anything like that can be a variable. Some people just go with single letters, like A, B, C, D, but then often they forget what they stand for, and then they have to have a comment to help remember. So you can make your variables easy, like simple letters, or you can make them a little more descriptive. Now, as you can imagine, high school students probably don't feel like writing all this out every time, right? The matrix, so you probably would call it G. But it's possible to do it like that. And the variables don't have to just stand for letters, numbers, although they could. Like this is a S equals 8, that's a variable statement. Sine equals 12, that's a variable statement. You could have a variable stand for a whole word or multiple words. So a variable equals Alice Ovechkin. I do hockey references sometimes, sorry. Or variable equals 1.6. And there's lots of different kinds of variables, but the three important ones I need to bring up are these three. Int, float, and string. Int is like an integer, a number, and it's a number with no decimals. Float is a number with a decimal. If you want a float as like, if you wanted 4 to be a float, you would just put 4.0. So numbers are either one of these kinds. The other kind is called strings, and strings are any sequence of characters. They could be letters, numbers, spaces, punctuation, anything. Operations, as long as you're in quotes, you can put any, with some limitation, sure, anything you want inside those quotes. And it's important to know what your variables are, just like you can do math with the number variables, but you can't do math with like hello. So you gotta kind of know what variable you're dealing with at any given time. So what I kind of have typed in, just so you can see this code here.
Would it be easier if it went so you can see that?
I have a variable called num, I called it 8. I have a variable called name, I called it Alex Ovechkin. This line right here, print name, what do you think that line is going to do?
Print his name.
It's going to print Alex Ovechkin. It's not going to print NAME. It's going to print the variable stored in that location. If I say print num, you can probably expect that's going to print 8. This is a little more complicated print statement because it's printing two things on the same line. If I want to print name in quotes, so it's going to print name, then Alex Ovechkin, and this can print number, and then 8. So just so you can kind of see what this little simple program does, I'll run it, and kind of, there's your output. So if you want to print one thing on a line, it looks like this. That's just printing a variable. If you want to print multiple things, you could kind of connect them with a little plus sign there. There's a little trick to print like a number with a word on the same line. So that's just an str. So that's kind of variables, and in conjunction with variables, I don't have you doing anything yet, I don't think. But I will soon, is input. So input is a way to get information into the computer. For us, it's going to come through the keyboard, but in general, it could come through like audio, voice commands, any way to get information. This is what the syntax is. So I hope you have I'm going to get off the screen in a second. So this is like kind of the information you need to know. What that's going to do is it's going to ask the computer to get information from you. So here's what I'm, for example, if I want to get information, I'm going to have a variable called num. Actually, I'm going to do name first. It's raw input like that, and then you could give it quote unquote. It just says specials quote, so you just kind of got to put it. And just to make sure that it came correctly, we're going to print it just to make sure that it read it correctly. So if you don't have to do this, you can just kind of watch. But if I gave it a name and it received that name and it kept it in its information. If you want to get a little more involved, you could like make sure it prints something. And that would go in there. So now this is like, it's called a prompt. It's like the computer is going to print this and then wait for you to answer for your name. Oops, it doesn't like when I mess up punctuation. So it's going to ask for my name. So if you want to ask a question, you kind of put it in there as an input prompt. And the final thing I want to show you with the input is if you want it to be a number input, you need to do one more thing. That's the variable name you want to call it, and then you need to do either int or float. So the syntax you're looking at is raw input, that tells it you want input. This in quotes is just what I want the computer to print. And then this right here is the variable it's going to be called, and this right here is turning it into a number. That's a lot of information, but I tried to put it all on the PowerPoint for you to see. So this program I have going on right now is going to ask for my name, it's going to ask for my number, and it's going to do nothing else because that's all I have.
Do you want to try all of that or just the one?
I think I have on a slide coming up, we're going to pause and try some stuff here. I would see if we can get this far. I would like you to take a moment and try this. Partner up if you want to, but I would like you to try a program that asks, what is your name, accepts it, what is your favorite number, accepts it, and then prints this whole line, receiving your information. So your program should probably be at least 3 lines. So you're going to get information with the input, and then print it for the output.
The code in this.
You're going to enter your code on the left side and see it come out on the right side. there's gonna be questions. I got 3 helpers and I'm gonna walk around here. The syntax that you're using is right on the slides. Everything's right on the slides of what you need to be trying to do here.
Can you read that?
Ah.
Yeah, it's on. I think I found it. Variable example program. I'm thinking that's it, right? I don't know. Is it that one? The variable example program? Oh, the syntax. Maybe it is. Let's see. Well, okay. One of those.
The lines you're gonna want, the syntax you're gonna want, I think, is on this slide right here. To get the input, you're gonna like follow that syntax.
Did she close the parentheses? Yeah, you need to, on the final level, you need to close the last parentheses.
As I'm sure you can see already, attention to detail is kind of important. It's about parentheses, close, open, spaces, spelling. Like it's kind of a lot to get in your
Because what
head.
happens if you don't do it? You run it and it tells you an error?
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
I hate
it's
that.
really specific. Because
But does it
otherwise,
tell you where to fix your
kind of general error and it highlights.
Sometimes it tells you a line number, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's confusing to tell what it wants.
Wait till you hit logic errors.
Since you have these parentheses around what it's asking you to close your name. And the parentheses, but you have these.
You guys good?
So you guys need you guys need an input statement, is what I'm saying. You need to follow like something like one of these.
Since this is your main screen.
Yeah.
So, what languages do you learn?
So I put Easter in there. It's actually a separate thing. I put it the word in there. It's in an error because you can't make a word.
Yeah, we got to be on the side, that's old.
So you want to name it, you can draw, you
That's
can
the right.
if you want the input to be numbered, you can input parentheses on
Then you get edges. Well, see, when I took it in college, they made us take this kind of intro. I never even had a reservation, I didn't know anything about it. I never used that down. But now, to get it, because now I understand it, you know, back then. Then it would run the program, take 2 hours, go fix it, and I just wanted it in 15 minutes.
That's the basic of it.
If you're struggling and just want to kind of see what the right setup is it something equivalent to that? You could name your variables what you want. I use name and num. You could use X and Y. Those are a personal choice. But you do need the raw input, and you do need variables to store the input as. And then as your output, I just do it all in one line, kind of like this. Write some text, then put your name, and then write some text, and then put the number. So I'm going to leave that up, and if you want to try it on your own, try it. If you want to just kind of copy what I have just to see it working, that's fine too. But I'm going to see how that goes for a few minutes.
Once you hit Python 3, you just need input.
Yeah, then it takes what type, then it recognizes.
Yeah.
I got annoyed with the parentheses around the print statement.
You can always put in your
Yeah.
favorite.
Well, you guys are trying to get the input statements in. So you want to do name, you don't want to do name equals your name. You want to do name equals, get a raw input. And what'll happen is it'll ask you your name.
similar to what you would call the name, except if you want
That's-
numbers, you need to make it to a number.
Right?
Oh my God, get ready for a new
Yeah, so you just see
like,
a
all right.
number, draw input, so you can get the second. You see how you have a name. Yeah, you can run it.
This is like,
All right.
You didn't let it, you didn't let it,
Your name in.
like you told it. You wanna
Every time you run it, it asks you the input.
now
again.
because mine.
You do the center. That's fine. And then you put the number in there. So you put like seven.
So that is going to print that and then wait for
Then print.
it to receive your input.
It shows
You're in space.
Completed both of those parentheses and highlights everything.
If you're done and waiting, just try to do something on your own. Try to mess around with it a little bit. I'm going to try to wait a little longer, and then we'll probably get to one more concept and see where we're at from there.
I'm gonna go make some coffee, so we can
Are you trying to do some stuff like So. Yeah, so you just finish up the. You guys are over here?
They were just working on getting the input, I think, over here.
I don't think Karen's having fun.
Are you having problems with the input or? It's input with an N. You have an N.
No, the whole line.
Yeah.
Why is it on?
Yeah, Python's really stingy on any spelling error.
You can copy and paste.
I'm
Control C, Control V.
Wait, how do I do it? How do I do it if I actually know? Do I have to have this at the end? So it's like a.
Then you would call it, your variable's what animal, so you would put animal. You would delete and just backspace on that, get rid of it.
Well, no, there's no space in
Then
between.
you put animal. Because that's the variable that you call it. You don't need to, because it's not a
different one out like that.
If it's quotes, it's gonna print that direct. If it's non-quotes, it's gonna look for a variable with that
Did it
name,
work?
which it has. So it's gonna.
Oh.
Janae's got favorite animal questions now, but that's a win.
Here we go.
Make sure you close it when you open it. If you don't close it, it'll like, where's the next parenthesis?
Yeah, facts, but
I got it.
okay, okay, listen, you guys all passed Greek out the first time. I'm gonna pass computer science the first time.
And when we, it starts easier, computer science, but it was given an overview here, and not really.
Wait,
This wouldn't be how I started computer science.
all right, yeah, I'm already.
So,
Continuing. I bet I
All right, I'm gonna try to talk about one more thing here, and then that might be our time. Of course, you want a computer program to be able to do math. That's kind of how it figures out things. So in Python, some of the operations you're going to need to know are, some are pretty common. Plus is addition, minus is subtraction, the asterisk is multiplication.
it should.
This one's a little weird. It's a double asterisk for exponent. In a lot of computer applications, they use the caret, but the caret doesn't work in Python. Exponent is the double exponent. So it's, for example, 4 double asterisk 2 is 16. I don't need to talk much about the division because that doesn't apply in kind of what we're doing, what the next thing I'm gonna ask you to try is, so, I'll just leave the division there. So we got exponent, subtraction, addition, and multiplication. This program, I'm gonna just talk through for a minute and try to follow what it's doing. You're telling the computer that the radius is 8.
Which ones do what?
What math do you think this line's doing right here? Did I hear area of a circle?
You would have to just close it.
Area of a circle is pi times r squared. So instead of r, I use radius. Radius refers to 8. So when you're done, this area should have figured out the area of the circle. You figure out the area of the circle, and then this line is just going to print it. It's going to print area circle plus whatever the computer figured out. Then I'm telling it something else. The height is 4. What do you think this line's doing right here? It's figuring something out. Area is whatever it figured out up here. So it remembers that. Area is now equal to whatever it's equal to. And it's going to take that number times it by the height. What's the height? 4, as you told it it was. So now it's going to know a new variable called volume, and the volume is going to be printed. How many variables do I got going on here? 4. 4 different variables happening. What kind of variables do I have happening? What's this one right here? You have 3 choices. What are your 3 choices, Demetri?
You got int, float, and string.
Int, float, or string. Is this an int, a float, or a string? Int. Why is it an int? It's a number without a decimal. What type do you think that one is?
Well, it's doing math,
It's doing math.
but they're not all integers.
Do you think this is going to have a decimal answer? I do. So that would mean it's going to have a type of float. What type of variable do you think that is? You're winning, Cam. What do you got? 3 choices. Int, yes. What type of variable do you think that is? Your choice, Kenzie.
Yeah.
Float, because it's going to be a decimal. So what's the third choice? A string with something in quotes, anything that's a word or characters or whatever. All right, this one is where we're going to end, and we'll see if we can do it. You might have to partner up, and you might need some help. Anyone that's had any kind of geometry knows Pythagorean theorem. There's the generic Pythagorean theorem, there's the variables example of 3 and 4. Anyone that had geometry knows for a fact that if it's a 3 and a 4 here, what's the C have to be? 5. So this is kind of the math it took to get there. Could you do the math on 1 line? Maybe. Could you do the math on 5 lines? Yeah. You probably don't want to follow this to tell the computer what to do, though. It's not going to work that way. So what I'm going to start you off here, and I see what kind of happens here. Did I mention about square roots yet?
I don't think it's square root on there.
All right. To do the square roots, I thought I had this, but I didn't. I'm only telling you this because you're going to need it here. To do the square root, you're going to take it to the easiest way without importing, is to do whatever you're doing to the 0.5 power. So if I did 16 to the 0.5 power, that's going to do the square root of it. So keep that in mind. All right, here's our ending goal here, and you probably want to maybe partner up or something. You are going to Get a variable and call it A. Get an input. I'm not going to type the line. I want to see you come up with it. Get a variable for A. Do some input. Get a variable for B. Do some input. Figure out what C is. And then print what the answer is. So in other words, your program's going to kind of look like this when you run it. It's going to say enter A, and then you're going to type in 3, maybe. And then it's going to say enter B, and you're going to type in 4. And then it's going to figure out the answer, and it's going to print that answer. If you can manage this off of the little bits of Python I gave you today, you got yourself a good program now. So, get 2 inputs, figure out what C is,
I'm working on it.
calculate an output.
Oh, wait, I forgot to do something.
I'm going to type some clues here, and then I'm going to try to walk around.
Oh, really? Do I want to?
So what you want to do is ask for input. So you want to ask, like, before you were asking for your name,
Wait, you're ready.
Give a shout out.
because you're asking for the number that is on there, it's like, what is A, what is B? Well, that's not gonna look 100%.
Oh, wait.
So you have to like finish the raw input. So yeah, you have to have inputs for both of these.
So those red lines I typed are not, like, you don't have to type those. They're just kind of comments on clues on what I think you probably should be doing.
Yeah, so go back.
That's what I'm going to give you to start. I'll fill it in and I'll throw it a little bit.
Then you parentheses with the shift 9. You can just leave it blank if you want.
Oh, my God.
No, so what Ron does is when you put something in here, it'll print that out. So it'll say enter A, right? So
Wait, yeah, is it supposed to run the whole thing every time you do it? The name and all that?
You can delete all that if you want.
So I basically just keep it.
You can either delete it or we can just comment it out.
the input for A and the input for B. Yeah. So you just need to do that again. You're just asking for B variables.
No, oh, I was.
Did you delete the part you were working on?
Oh, Jim.
Command Z.
Yeah, just command. That's on the same. Only.
I don't know why it's a command. I don't even run that.
Control Z. Ah, it's back. It sounds like, thank you.
I don't even know. So yeah,
The one thing I want to emphasize is to get the input, you have to do a raw input statement. You have to
you didn't. Yeah,
write out all the syntax to get a raw input. You can't just tell it it's 3. You have to make it so it asks what the input is. Because it might be 3 the first time, and you might want to change it the next time.
I did.
You have to wait.
You're gonna be so proud of me. You're gonna see how smart I actually am for once.
I'll be happy to.
What is
So C isn't an input. C is what
Okay, answer
you're doing.
B.
A and B,
So now if you print A and
you're
B,
gonna want to do it. Don't just say A is 3 and B is 4. That's not kind of what we want to do. We could start it off like that, but that, like, you want to get input. You want to ask
Okay.
you want the program to ask you on the right side of the screen what your numbers are going to
Yeah,
be.
but so the Pythagorean theorem is
So if you need to see that raw input statement again, that's why I gave you the PowerPoint, right?
since
It's
you're
written
doing
out there
math,
multiple
you need to
times.
actually on okay.
So set up
Yeah.
two statements for A and B
So,
and X.
So how this works is you take A,
All right,
you
well,
square
not
it,
to number,
which means you
not to
multiply A times itself,
number.
and then you add that with B squared, which is B times itself. And then the answer would be C squared. Okay? So it's a little complicated, but the way the computer does it, it won't be too hard because you won't have to actually do the math yourself. You just have to write it down. So
I was kind of thinking we'd all have the geometry background to do the Pythagorean
Yeah.
theorem, but
we
maybe.
have some like level 1
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, we
about-
do.
Yeah, okay. So what you can do is you can do C squared. Do you remember, do you have the PowerPoint paper? Okay.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and type one possible solution. So if you wanna see clues, I'm gonna
How
use.
would you calculate C?
Actually, not C.
Not in terms of code, the square root. Okay. So
No,
then,
you need to
give
do
yourself some space
square.
before you
You
type
can do
that
A
C.
squared, so where is the
Square root.
So, we would write exactly what you just said. So go in that blank space. And,
So you see over here, it's gonna have to see
you
what
could do,
addition is plus, multiplication
let's
is
do
the asterisk, and then if you're gonna do exponent, which is what we need to
so
do
this
two
is not
asterisks.
input, so take
So you
that
can
input.
start by doing this, you can't put A to
Okay.
capital.
So what is C?
So do A, asterisk, and then two.
Okay,
No, just do
so do,
plus
write A squared, get your first part in,
E, and then the exponent. So, yeah, and then two.
plus B squared.
So basically, you're exponent, you're squaring it, which means you're multiplying A times A and B times B, and then
And
adding.
just like in math, put parentheses around that, so that part happens first.
Just do the three.
And then, it doesn't really matter before or after, you have
Oh,
to
you didn't print it out, that's why. You
take
need
the
to print
square
out
root
C.
of it, which means you're gonna multiply it over. Let that happen.
So,
Okay, if you just wanna see my version of what I'm asking you to do, I have it kinda there, but I honestly think, just give it a shot yourself for a few more minutes.
you want to print C, but since right here you're doing math, C is a float. Which means if you try and print it out right now, it's not gonna work. So what you want to do is you want to do this
Go
PR
ahead and print that C.
and open parentheses. So
Print C. Oh.
and then C
Go ahead and go to
and
that.
close it. So that'll make it a string, which means now you can print it out near.
Now.
So try something simple like do 3 and then 4, or you can do 10.
There's an error, just fine.
Um,
You gotta get that.
I wonder if that's right. Who's trail one?
Wait, do you have to say about? So, what that's saying is it's
Yeah,
saying we're trying, you said this, you have.
We can't call it.
Yeah, this is,
That's what you did. Which doesn't work.
you'll learn this
We have
later.
to square, like an integer.
Oh, yeah, you'll learn this.
So this is the variable name. You're saying that it is integer, you say two loss, but you can know.
How do we do it before to make it an integer?
You'll learn it, yeah, don't worry about it. But this is your.
So this is what you're gonna have the computer say, close the print, there's a close,
Yeah, what are
close
you doing
the
with
print.
Access or no?
You need another
Oh,
print.
you doing Carol? Oh, Carol, that's actually a different language, that one's JavaScript.
This is,
So,
They're like completely
you
different
have to,
languages.
before those
It's
input,
like, it's like English and Spanish, almost.
we're not gonna
try
start
to
it.
put the R in the wrong, put
But
parentheses
it's
around that,
there's
and then. Oh, yeah. That's second. Same thing for next line.
To make websites, they usually use JavaScript, HTML, and
a number.
I'll try my.
oh, games. Yeah, games people usually use C++.
So it took the input.
Oh, that's like a advanced
It is there.
language kind of.
Okay.
Like right
So
now,
now-
you can make like simple games with
Something's
Python.
wrong.
But like if you're making a game like Call of Duty or something, you're gonna need like something like C++ and stuff like that. Like something that works with models and whatnot. Yeah, you know, humble beginnings. You start out with print statements. You know, if you work at it, you know, there's some classes in the high school you can take. Or do you go to Harvard?
Like 1 divided by 2.
Oh, okay. Well, when you get to high school, there's probably gonna be some classes you can take in computer science, and from there you can.
All right, our time's about up. I hope you know a little more than when you walked in. That was all what my goal was. You don't, like I heard Dimitri say, you don't start out like programming games and websites. You start out learning the very, very basics, getting used to syntax, parentheses, how stuff goes, how stuff is supposed to look. But you can kind of, like, there's a lot more you can do with it. Like just this simple program, you could, what if you want to find A? What if you want to find B? What if you want to have it run multiple times? there's so many like what ifs to make this even like more involved and more to it, that you can, no matter where you stop, there's always kind of more you can go with. So I'm going to thank you for your participation and attendance here. I have the handout if you want to take it and kind of do what you want with it. If you want to learn more, I can gladly sit and work with any of you. There's the graphics, there's the turtle drawing part, there's a lot more to it, but I felt like it was important to like start with the very, very like bottom easy things. You guys that might take computer science 1 at Conrad Weiser, this is, believe me, this is not how I teach the normal stuff. We start out kind of and build on it and kind of talk in a smaller group and kind of just throwing a presentation at you. But this is the setting that we had for today, so this is what I went with. So I'm sure you're free to do what you want at this point at 11 o'clock. I guess it's lunch.